Hey there, fifth grade. So I'm going to take you through this week's homework. I had a couple of you who had reached out asking for a little bit of support for this week's homework. So, as my fifth graders know, and I sent a message through Parents Square the other night, we do have a math test coming up next week. So, this week's homework was really just a culmination of the multiplication and division work that we've been doing together in class, put into the form of word problems. Word problems can be really tricky for fifth graders because a lot of fifth graders tend to just grab onto the numbers and they just do something with them, and that something isn't always the right operation to be using. So, today in this video, we will take a look at those word problems and we'll ask ourselves, what information do we know and what are we looking for? Once we get a basic understanding of what the problem is about, we can then use the wonderful strategies that we've been practicing over the past week to solve. So, let's start with in the world of multiplication. We learned and practiced three different strategies. Now, moms, dads, grandmas, grandpas, aunties, uncles, older cousins, this standard algorithm is the way that we were taught in school how to multiply. I refer to it as like the old school way of multiplying. This is how we were taught. We call it a standard algorithm. I will say it is the quickest strategy, but it's also the most difficult to understand the rationale behind. So that's when we kind of bring in partial products in an area model, so students better understand what we're multiplying and why we're multiplying the way that we do in a standard algorithm. So area model and partial products, we're just decomposing the factors and multiplying that way. Then, the past week we did a lot of work with division. Division can be really scary. Even myself, as a grown adult, division sometimes is a little daunting for me as well. So I threw four different ways to divide numbers. We started off last week with using a tape diagram, and we can draw a picture to visualize, and we can use our strength of repeated addition to continuously add our divisor over and over again until we reach our dividend. Then we, at the end of last week, talked about using a guess and check strategy, where we use estimation to find an approximate answer. Then we multiply the divisor. And then parents, grandparents, aunties, uncles, the standard algorithm, aka the vertical form. This is how we were taught back in our heyday how to divide. And then yesterday, we learned using partial quotients, which is another way that we can divide as well. Okay. Um, Parents, grandparents, aunties, uncles, also all of these strategies and these charts, I actually have displayed in our classroom for your child's disposal at any time that they need them. So it's always a resource that they can use. Okay, enough talking. Let's get into the homework. I'm just going to get rid of my face for a minute because you don't need to see me to understand what we're doing here. All right, so what I'm going to do is we're going to go through each word problem. What I'm going to do is I'm going to read to understand the problem first. I'll then come up with my plan for how to solve. But then the actual solving part, I'm going to put on my fifth graders to try out on their own using whatever strategy works for them. So, problem number one is a bookstore has 11 rows of shelves, and each row has 13 shelves. There are 3,146 books in the store. An equal number of books are placed on each shelf. How many books are on each shelf? So, my first thought is, what do I know? And what am I looking for? So, I know that there are 11 rows, and each row has 13 shelves. So, I think I'll start there first. So, if I have 11 rows with 13 shelves on each row, here's what that would look like. There's 11 rows, 13 shelves on each row. I could do 13 plus 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 13. Whew, that's a lot of adding. But a quicker way would be to multiply. So my first step would be to multiply 11 times 13 to first figure out how many shelves are there total. So my fifth graders, I want you to take a minute to pause the video. Can you quickly multiply 11 times 13 for me? Pause now. All right, welcome back. Hopefully you were able to figure out that 11 times 13 is 143. Next, the next part of my question is that there are 3,146 books in the store. An equal number of books are placed on each shelf. How many books are on each shelf? So if my total is 3,146 books, they need to be put on all 143 shelves. Fifth graders, your job is to now divide to figure out how many books are on each shelf. If I were you, I would think of the best strategy to use for division. If I'm being honest with you, I'm not going to want to draw a tape diagram because I really don't want to see you guys drawing 143 boxes. So my suggestion would be to try the partial quotients strategy. You can try a guess and check strategy or a standard algorithm. Okay? All right, moving on to question 2. A factory makes 3,876 bags of rope. Boxes that each hold 19 bags of rope are sold for $15 per box. If the factory sells all the boxes of rope, how much money does the factory earn? All right, so what do I know? What am I looking for? I know that the factory makes 3,876 bags of rope. I also know that there are boxes that hold 19 bags. Okay. So I know that there's this many bags of rope. I know that there's going to be 19 bags. So first, what I want to do is I want to find out how many boxes can carry all these bags. But that's not all that we have to do. Oops. Because the next bit of information we learn is that each box makes $15 a box. So take a minute, use a division strategy to divide 3,876 by 19. Go ahead and pause the video now to solve. All right, hopefully you were able to deduce. Oopsies. Hopefully you're able to deduce. There we go. When you divide, you get 204 boxes to hold all this rope. So my next step is to take all of those boxes and we want to figure out if they're all sold for $15 each. How much money does the factory earn? So fifth graders, your job is to now multiply using a strategy that you like to use to figure out how much money the factory earns from all of these boxes. Number 3, Toby buys 16 packs of trading cards. Each pack has 15 cards. He puts all the trading cards into a notebook. He fills 20 pages of it with an equal number of cards on each page. How many trading cards are on each page? Well, I know that there's 16 packs of trading cards, and each pack has 15 cards. So I start with that. 16 packs, and each pack has 15 cards. Go ahead and take a minute, pause the video, and can you please multiply 16 packs times 15 cards? Go ahead and pause the video now. All right, welcome back. Hopefully, you were able to figure out that we have 240 cards. But we're not done yet because we also know he's going to fill 20 pages of his notebook with an equal number of cards on each page. So if we have 240 cards being split among 20 pages, I need to figure out how many cards go on each page. So please use a strategy for division to solve. All right, turning the page, we have Tara now. Tara is on a 6-day road trip. She drives a total of 2,318 miles on the trip. On the first day, she drives 343 miles. She drives the same number of miles on each day of the other 5 days. How many miles does she drive on each of the other days? So I know that she's going to drive this many miles total across 6 days. On day 1, she drives this many miles. The other days, we don't know yet. So first, what we want to do is take our total number of miles, subtract how many miles she's driven so far to find out how many miles are left. Go ahead and pause the video, 5th graders, and subtract to see how many miles are left on her drive. Go ahead and pause now. All right, when you subtract it, hopefully you're able to figure out that she still has 1,975 miles to go. Now, there's still 5 days left of her trip. Can you please figure out now if she's going to drive the same number of miles these 5 days? How many miles will she be driving? Use a strategy for division to solve. All right, and lastly, we have an art museum that sells a total of 2,790 tickets over Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. The same number of people visit each day. Tickets to the museum cost $8. How much money does the museum make on Saturday and Sunday all together? All right, well, I know that they have 2,790 tickets over the course of Friday, Saturday, Sunday. So over the course of 3 days, we need to figure out how many people came each day. We know the same number of people come to visit. So please take a minute to pause the video and divide to see how many people visit each of those days, Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. Go ahead and pause the video now to do this. Welcome back. When you divided, hopefully you're able to figure out that on Friday, Saturday, and Sunday, 930 people come to the museum. Now here's the next part of this. Tickets to the museum cost $8. So how much money does the museum make on Saturday and Sunday all together? Okay, so I'm going to want to multiply by $8. If there are 930 people who come every day, multiply that by $8. Take a minute to find out how much money this is going to be. Go ahead and pause the video now. All right, welcome back. Hopefully you're able to figure out on your own that when we multiply 930 people each day times $8, that is $7,440. Money, money, money. But we're not done yet because we want to know if that is how much they make in one day, how much money would they make in 2 days on Saturday and Sunday? So if this is Saturday and this is Sunday, fifth graders, your job now is to figure out how much money do they make all together on Saturday and Sunday. Whew, that's a lot of work we did. So moving forward, it's really important whenever we get to a word problem for math, the most important part is figuring out what do we know and what are we looking for. Only then can we then determine what operations to use. Then when we determine the operations that are needed to complete a problem, we then need to think what strategy for that operation would work best. All right, guys, I'm sorry for such a long video. I hope it was somewhat helpful. I can't wait to see your homework on Friday. Have a great night.